Hello and welcome back. This is Rashid from IELTS.net. This is the second part of the introduction. In this video, I'll tell you all about the format of the test. It will include what kind of content you can expect in the test, what types of questions would be there, and what they would evaluate and what type of language skills they would aim at. If you know the format, there wouldn't be any surprises during the test. This type of understanding will help you understand how your language is being evaluated and how you have to display it. There was one of my students who went to the test. He was very well prepared with reading, writing, listening, but he wasn't much aware of the speaking format because he said to me that don't bother about it, so that I can do very well with the speaking. So he went to the test. He got very good bands in listening, writing and reading, but he got 6.5 in speaking. Why? Because he didn't know what he was going to be asked, how he was going to be asked, and in what ways that test was judging his language. So he failed to perform, although his language was very high. So this means that even if your language is very good, but you are not performing according to the format of the test, you still fail. So keep this format in your mind and prepare yourself very well. Let's begin with the listening test. In listening, there will be 4 sections and 40 questions. This means that in every section, there will be 10 questions. The recordings will be played only once. This means that you don't have a chance to replay the audios, and if you miss any questions, the questions are gone. The answers would be right from the audio. You wouldn't have to answer the questions from your own knowledge. And the question types that you can expect can be summary completion, MCQs, matching, maps, and flowchart. As I said, there will be 4 sections. Section 1 would be conversation, and there will be 2 people discussing or exchanging information in a social or general situation. In section 2, you will have to listen to a monologue. This is a speech delivered by one person. It can be a guide or it can be an announcement, and you have to follow it and listen to it. The third would be a conversation, and the fourth a lecture. The first 2 sections will be from general situations, while conversation and a lecture will be from academic contexts. Now, what type of language they are aiming at and what type of language do you have to display to get good bands? You have to show that you can understand basic information, like somebody is exchanging information, talking about his telephone number or address. If you can understand that, you will be through with the first section. You can get 10 out of 10. Second ability that you have to show is announcement and guide, following it. If you can understand what type of announcement it is, what different information is being conveyed through it, if you can do that, you can ace through section 2. Section 3 would be harder than section 1 and section 2. In this section, 2 people, like 2 students or a teacher and a student, would be discussing in some academic background an assignment or a project. In this section, they would be judging your ability to understand attitude, opinions, objections if one student raises on the project of the other student. The fourth section would be related to a lecture, and you would be required to follow the lecture and take notes. So if you're able to display your ability, you can get very good bands. Now, remember, listening test judges your ability to listen. So if you want to prepare for higher bands, then you have to sharpen your listening skills. No tricks and tips would work. So let's move to the reading now. In reading, you will be given 3 passages, and you will have 60 minutes to answer all the questions. There will be 40 questions in total. There wouldn't be any time extra allowed for transferring your answers to the answer sheet. This is a little different from listening. In listening, you are given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet if this is a paper-based test. If it's a computer-based test, you are given only 2 minutes to transfer your answers or for review. But in reading, you're not given any extra time. I have observed that some students, they continue to practice writing down their answers on the question booklet when they're practicing at their home, and they do the same thing in the examination. and they're not able to transfer all the answers of the answer sheet in the end, and the Both the question booklet and the answer sheets are snatched away by the examiners. So you got to be very careful over there. Continue writing your answers on the answer sheet and practice the same thing when you're practicing at your home. There wouldn't be any negative marking. This goes both with listening and reading. This follows that even if you are not able to get the correct answer, you can still make guess and continue writing your answers. You wouldn't be penalized extra for giving wrong answers. The type of questions that you can come across in reading test are summary completion, true, false, not given, yes, not given, headings, table, flowcharts, classification, and MCQs. Any of these questions can appear in any of these three passages. Like true, false, not given question can appear in passage 1, passage 2, or passage 3. They can come anywhere. But usually headings come in passage 2 and passage 3, and so goes for classification questions. You will learn all of these things in detail, how to deal with all these questions in my other video, in which I have discussed everything in detail. Because this video is for the formats, that's why I'm just discussing the basics of the format of the IELTS test. What are these questions designed to assess? That is your reading abilities, skimming, scanning, general idea, central idea, organization, whether you can understand the opinion that have been given by the different writers there in the passage, if you can understand the explanation or not, or whether you can classify different paragraphs or different information with different writers. All of these reading skills are evaluated through these questions. And one more thing, that in reading and listening, in both of these tests, your answers must have correct spellings. Even if your answer is correct, but you have written in the wrong spellings, you lose marks. So be careful. Transfer your answers exactly with the same spellings the way they have been written in the passage. When you're transferring your answers, you can either write in capital or small letters. This is all about reading format. Now let's move to speaking now. Speaking is common in both general and academic tests. It is a face-to-face interaction with an examiner, and whatever you say, your audios are recorded. There are three parts: part 1, part 2, and part 3. And the whole interview lasts about 12 to 15 minutes. Part 1, the examiner asks you very basic, small questions. For example, what type of game do you play? How often do you go for exercise? What was the last time you met your friends? So these types of questions are asked. Usually he picks up a topic and asks 4 to 5 questions. In part 2, there will be a prepared talk. Prepared means that you are given a topic and that topic has got 3 to 4 questions. You are given 1 minute to prepare your talk, and during this time you can take your notes if you want to. During the talk for 2 minutes, you speak uninterrupted by the examiner. This means the examiner wouldn't be asking you any more questions. So you have to create enough stuff. You have to think of enough stuff so that you can speak for 2 minutes long. Sometimes examiner stops you in the middle of the 2 minutes. This means the examiner has made the assessment and he doesn't want you to speak anymore. So you have to stop. Once the section 2 is over, the examiner proceeds to section 3. In section 3, there is a discussion. The examiner asks you questions about the same topic that was given to you in the part 2, but the nature of the questions would be different. Let's say if you were given in part 2, what type of game do you play? In part 3, the questions can be, what are the advantages of playing computer games? Or do you think that nowadays that a trend of playing indoor games is increasing? So this means that the nature of the question in part 1 and part 2 and part 3 would be totally different. In part 3, usually the questions are of abstract type. Cause and effect, advantages, disadvantages, giving opinion, etc. Now, all of these questions are designed to assess your speaking abilities, speaking skills. Remember, they are not judging your personal opinion. If you have a particular kind of opinion, don't be conscious about it. You are not given marks or you are not penalized for that. They are not judging your knowledge. You don't have to have a lot of knowledge. You just need to have certain understanding, basic understanding of different topics. They're not judging your personality either. Whether you have a good personality or bad personality, it has nothing to do with your score. What they're judging is how fluent you are, what type of coherence you're using in your language, whether you're using good lexical resources, the type of vocabulary that you're using when you're speaking, whether it's relevant or not, and then the grammatical range, grammatical accuracy, and last, the pronunciation. So if you want to prepare more for speaking test, remember these things. Remember the things for which your speaking is being evaluated. Keep these things in your mind and then prepare all of your format, keeping these things. You have to display these set of skills through these questions. So when you're preparing these questions, this format of the test, keep these linguistic skills in your mind and keep checking yourself how well you're doing on them. Because through these questions, this is what has to be reflected to get good bands. This is all about speaking. Now the last module, writing. Writing test is 60 minutes long and there will be 2 tasks that will be given to you. Task 1 and Task 2. Task 1, in a general module, you will be given a letter. There can be 3 types of letters that can be given to you. One is formal, second semi-formal, and third informal. Any one of them can be given and you have to maintain a proper tone to get good bands in them. In academic module, you are given a report. A report is in a tabular form or in a graphical shape or a pie chart. It can also be a process, or maps can also be given to you. But whatever is given, you have to write down a summary. For both letter and report, you have to write more than 150 words, at least 150 words. The time allowed is 20 minutes. Writing task 2 is common in both academic and general module. The types of essays that can be given to you are causes and effects, advantages, disadvantages, negative, positive trends, discussing views, and giving opinions. Like, do you agree or disagree? To what extent do you agree or disagree? Through all of these tasks, task 1 and task 2, there are 4 major areas which are being evaluated in your writing. Number 1 is task achievement. Then how well you have addressed the task that has been given to you in both task 1 and task 2. And then coherence, whether you have created a good organization, what kind of sequence you have introduced in your task. And then cohesion, how well all of the thoughts and all the sentences that you have introduced, how well they are connected with each other. And then grammatical accuracy and grammatical range. And the last, lexical resources, vocabulary. So this was all about the format of the test. This understanding of the format of the test and the areas of the language that are being evaluated through these different questions, they have to be synchronized. They have to be very well balanced. Because if you're just focusing on linguistic skills and you are not very well, or you're not very well versed with the format of the test, you will lose marks. Or if you are very good with the format of the test, but your language is weak, you wouldn't get marks either. So you have to maintain a balance between both of them if you want to show the best of your language, or you want to get the bands which is exactly the reflection of your language.